A 60-year-old man in Tennessee died after he was swatted by teenagers who wanted his valuable Twitter handle.
He was part of a nationwide crime spree targeting people with rare usernames worth thousands of dollars.
Shane Sonderman pleaded guilty to conspiracy charges. He's accused of demanding the use of Mark Herring's Twitter handle. Now, when he was denied that, officers say Sonderman called police, saying that a man killed a woman at Herring's home. Officers arrived. Herring then suffered a heart attack when police came, and he passed away.
So I wasn't even going to be talking about this tragic story of this grandfather, I believe in Tennessee or in some other state in America, dying to someone over in England swatting him for a Twitter name. And if you don't know what swatting is, don't worry, I'll be explaining what that is in a little bit. But a fellow YouTuber named Miniclin, he sent me another story. Yet again, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with him. He sent me a video titled "Swatting Leads to Man's Death." And I also had a fellow viewer from the channel who watches me tagging me in a post talking about the same exact incident. And in this post from Damas Live News, he says, grandfather dies of heart attack after being targeted for his rare Twitter username during swatting incident. And yes, I've seen the video already. I listened to it about a couple of mornings ago and well, it annoyed me like a lot of things usually do. And basically the story goes down like this. A couple of kids, one in Tennessee here in the United States and another one from the UK. I'm not entirely sure what region in the UK, but definitely the UK since the call came from England and he had an English accent. In any case, the primary goal for these kids was to extort and intimidate this old grandfather who was 60 years old at the time into handing over his rare Twitter username, Tennessee. According to official reports, a woman named Corinna Fitch, which was the daughter of the man who was being extorted for this Twitter name, said that she got a lot of unknown pizza deliveries to her home on the night of April 27th, 2020 that she didn't order herself. And she also said that they were all on cash delivery. And then after that, she soon learned that the same thing was happening to her sister and mother across town. Now, it says here that the grandfather's son-in-law, Greg Hooch, told this news outlet that the grandfather had received a phone call from a neighbor who told him that there were police officers all over his property because a man had killed a woman and was on Herring's property. And by the way, this is a classic tactic that swatters use to try and get people who live in those residences of which they swatted hurt. It then says that the cops asked the old man when he went outside if he was Mark Herring, and they said, "Put your hands up." And then the grandfather then tosses his gun away to show that he's not a threat and subsequently puts his hands up. But unfortunately, after he did that, in the midst of, adrenaline and him being scared, it says that he died from a heart attack. And honestly, when I found out that this old man died of a heart attack because he was swatted and, old people, especially if their health is not in good shape, are fragile. And under extreme and stressful situations like this, it can affect old people's organs and sometimes lead to heart failure, just like it did for Mark Herring. Fran Herring, which is Mark's daughter, says, and I quote, "I believe he was scared to death, and that is what caused his heart attack." According to the report, the family learned that the person behind the pizza deliveries and the swatting was Shane Sonderman, which is the kid I mentioned earlier in the story from Tennessee. And it says here that earlier in the day, before the old man died, he had called the grandfather and demanded that he turn over his Twitter handle. Corinna Fitch, which is his other daughter, said, and I quote, "He was from Tennessee. He's the one who collected all of our information, my address, my sister, my mom's, my other sisters, and he put it all on a channel on Discord, which is a gaming chat forum." And I'm pretty sure we all know what Discord is by now. A lot of toxic stuff happens in a lot of Discord servers, swatting, doxing people, sending all kinds of illegal images. Like, we all already know how it is on Discord if it's not moderated properly. According to this article though, it says here that the family said another minor in the UK was the one who actually placed the call to the police station to initiate this SWAT. Sonderman, who was a minor when he tried to intimidate the old man, was charged with several federal crimes in May 2020 with wire fraud, conspiracy, interstate communication of threats, and engaging in false information and hoaxes. Authorities said he targeted at least 6 other victims in a smaller intimidation scheme to obtain their social media handles. So yeah, this kid, whoever he is I think his life is over. I mean, it's one thing to try and intimidate and extort old people into handing over their Twitter handles with nobody really getting hurt, things not going too far. Sometimes people give in because they're not really that stubborn. But clearly Mark Herring, the grandfather, was not scared or intimidated at first, and definitely was not going to be handing over his, rare Tennessee Twitter handle to this child. But obviously this child not giving up and still wanting that Twitter name, because they run for thousands of dollars. If that kid was able to actually get that name, he could have easily sold it for $2,000 to $3,000 on a website called OG Users, of which I'm gonna talk about in a minute. But yeah, this kid is done. I hope he goes away for a long time because of his intimidation tactics leading to the death of an innocent old man who didn't deserve any of this. Funny enough, after doing a quick Google search, I was able to find another article linked to the same kid named Shane Sonderman, and the headline of this says, Pizza Instagram and a SWAT team. Hillsdale College employee experiences digital harassment over username. And it says here, it was a normal night in November 2019 at the Coat House. The boys were heading off to their basketball games when Shanna Coat received 4 unordered pizza deliveries from 4 separate pizza stores. So you can clearly see they're using the same tactics of delivering random boxes of pizza to people's houses. Like, okay, free pizza, but how was that supposed to be an intimidation tactic? I don't know, but maybe it's supposed to scare some people. It says here though, the next night, the Coats received the same unordered deliveries at their new but not yet occupied house. So I guess it's supposed to say that, hey, we know where you live. Let's just send you pizza to show that we're not playing around and we know where you live and we can do something to you if we want to do something to you, I suppose. Like, it's kind of weird to think about, but this is how you know these people are actually kids and children, because adults wouldn't resort to sending pizza to people's houses in efforts to try and intimidate them. In any case, further down the article, it says here, according to Code, there's a lucrative market for short Instagram usernames. Her handle @Shan is both short and potentially useful for the suspect in custody named Shane Sonderman. So the same kid, Shane Sonderman, last year tried to intimidate a girl, a college student, with boxes of pizza, and luckily, nothing really happened to her. But she was swatted in Ohio, and it says here, she said, "For me, there was minimal contact or involvement with law enforcement after the state trooper told me nothing was happening." She also said, "Since then, I've talked to the FBI agent in Tennessee. When this first started happening to me, everybody thought it was a teenager playing a prank." And it also says here that the court, USA versus Shane Sonderman, so this man is in deep trouble. The federal courts are actually charging him, is being tried in Tennessee because the suspect resides there, and the 5 other victims identified, including the parents of one victim, resides in Oregon, Ohio, Tennessee, which is, Mark Herring, New York, Virginia, and Michigan. And it said here further down the article that harassers need to bear in mind that making threats and using any type of social media to make that threat is a 10-year felony. And I'm not entirely sure how true that is, but I'm inclined on believing it, especially if that threat led to the actual death of another human being. And we got to remember that not only on top of, threatening people over the internet, and actually in this case, it leading to another person's death, this kid is also experiencing wire fraud conspiracy, engaging in false information and hoaxes, and the targeting of 6 other victims in this whole scheme as well. So it is entirely possible for this kid to be looking at multiple decades in prison. But based on a news segment that a journalist from WKRN had with, I believe, Corinna, the daughter of Mark Herring, this is what she had to say about the kid in the UK who made the call to the local police department to swat her father. And you're also going to hear about what she had to say about the whole extortion of the Twitter username.
A kid in the United Kingdom made the call to my dad's local police department.
He will not be extradited from the United Kingdom because he is still currently a minor.
Right.
Sonderman is currently behind bars awaiting trial. A federal grand jury indictment claims he had 6 victims across the country. Herring was the only one who died.
They're not playing a game and they're not thinking it's funny. This is legit extortion.
How much money are they selling these handles for?
It's like $3,000, $4,000, like pennies compared to a life.
The family shares Herring's story now for several reasons.
Watch your kids on the internet because they know more than you think they know.
And that those guilty of swatting face tougher penalties.
You've not just changed that one person's life, you've done a ripple effect, and they need to pay for that.
Alex Dennis, News 2.
And after that segment ended, I came across info that said that the kid, Shane Sonderman, will be facing a possible 5-year prison sentence. I think it should be a little bit longer, maybe stretch it to 10 years, and a $250,000 fine. And we all know that that kid is not going to be able to pay that, or his parents. if he has any. I don't know what's going on here. In any case, me being curious, I did end up going to the old man's Twitter page, and I saw his very last tweet. And I assumed this has something to do with football. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a football guy. Sorry. But in that tweet, there was just a whole bunch of people showing respect to, the loss of life. A lot of people said Twitter should retire this handle because of what happened. Absolutely disgusting. Rest well. You will be remembered. Rest in peace, legend. Rest in peace king. Someone said, imagine doing this for a Twitter handle. It's literally not important. Just get a life. May you rest in peace. You didn't deserve this. This user isn't even that fire. Rest up. Rest in peace, king. And there was just a whole bunch of people showing up in droves, showing their respect and sending their condolences to the family. I'm pretty sure the family's gonna see all these heartfelt tweets and comments, and they're gonna appreciate the respect that people are showing to their lost father. But one of the most important comments I saw under this tweet was one made by this person named Juan with the username @felon. And this username is incredibly rare. You cannot get it anywhere else. But this is what I believe gives him credibility when he says, the OG community is disgusting, swatting over a username, low-life scums, rest in peace. And another person below that comment said, extorting, swatting, blackmailing, sim swapping since 2015. And both of these guys are completely right. And if you don't know what they're talking about, let me fill you in. So there's this website called ogus.com, and I'm pretty sure they have a lot of illegal activity going on over there. I've personally been on the website, but I've never really bought anything. But this website is literally filled with a whole bunch of people who have stolen Twitter handles from other people via what I've talked about in this video today. They've sold thousands of Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and any other social media platform usernames that have been stolen from other people. And anybody with more than 2 brain cells understands that a username like fire or water or earth or a name like David is not going to be available because people get those names on the first day that a website like Twitter or Instagram is launched. But if you go on this website, ogus.com, go over there after this video and you'll see a whole bunch of usernames that should not be available that people are selling. And these sellers have thousands of these names. And how do these people come across these names? Well, one of the ways is extorting, like I talked about in this video, swatting, blackmailing, getting images or private info, and sending that info to the person of which you are trying to get the name from and intimidating them, telling them that if you don't hand me over your username and your password, I'm gonna leak everything, whether that everything is your social security number, your phone numbers, your addresses, whatever. Then we have this thing called SIM swapping. And if you don't know what that is, here's the official definition on Google. It says, SIM swapping is a way for someone to steal your mobile phone number. It happens when a criminal tricks your cell phone provider into transferring your phone number to their SIM card. And the SIM card, like they say here, is the small plastic chip inside a mobile device that tells it which phone number to use. And some of you may be wondering, why would a criminal want my phone number switched to their phone? What could they possibly do with my phone number? Well, if someone has access to your phone number, they can then use that to bypass two-factor authentication. And on most websites, the typical way of using 2FA, which is two-factor authentication, is via a phone number. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with this. You input your phone number into the website, they tell you we're gonna send you a security code, and usually the security code comes after you initially put in your password, and they just use the security code to make sure that it's actually you who's logging in. But if someone knows your password, right, but you have 2FA on, they're not going to be able to get in. So the only way to get into your account is to actually have access to your phone number. So you guys understand where this is going, right? And if someone has access to your phone number, they can then easily request a security code from the website, and then whatever website that is asking for this code will send it to that number. In this case, the person who has your phone number via the SIM swapping method will then get the security code, and then they can easily input that into the website and log into whatever website, maybe your bank accounts, your Twitter handle, they can steal that, your Instagram, and see all your private photos or whatever, anything they want, they can get it. And this goes even deeper because once they get that, they log into your accounts, they see all your private info, they can save that, they can either gather all that info and sell it on the dark net for thousands of dollars, or they can then decide to hold on to all that info and use it against you to further extort you out of other stuff or other people's private information. And it just becomes a whole shit show for the person, the victim in the situation, who is being extorted, intimidated, and essentially blackmailed for everything that they have. And in today's instance, Mark Herring, the 60-year-old grandfather, didn't want to submit. He didn't want to give in to these hackers or you know, these extortionists, if you want to call them that, these blackmailers. And he ended up losing his life because of it. A very tragic situation. I genuinely believe that kid deserves more than 5 years, honestly. But in any case, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. It's a very messed up situation, and you know, not many people talk about this stuff because it's not really mainstream or trendy to talk about, and not many people have knowledge about what goes on behind the scenes of these websites that sell rare usernames. It's a very dark thing, and I believe someone should really dig into this stuff. You know, one of these YouTubers who make hour-long videos digging into the dark web. This could probably be an interesting thing for someone like Nexpo or Barely Sociable. Those are good guys who dig into conspiracies all the time. In any case, thank you for watching. I appreciate all the support. Be sure to like and share the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. And yeah, until next time, stay safe out there.